All right, welcome back, Davis. Thank you so much for being with us today.
You're welcome. Thank you.
One of our questions is, what cognitive and emotional benefits do you get from exercising every day? And does that depend on how long you exercise or your intensity? If not, what are the things that are dependent upon that?
Well, I think that yes, I get cognitive and emotional benefit for sure from most of the exercise that I do. And whether it's laying on the floor and just loosening up my body with some yoga posture, or else being out and riding fairly aggressively on my bike up a hill, that both of those serve certain aspects of my mental health. There's no question about that. But in terms of how hard you exercise or how hard you need to exercise, I mean, there's been some studies that have shown that a certain amount of intensity, meaning a higher heart rate, is going to activate some neural growth factors. And that's an important aspect to keep in mind when you are exercising. But I think that for me it kicks in fairly quickly, and that also is somewhat of gaining an endorphin effect, which is just a feel-good chemical that releases in your brain. And so I know that I am going to feel better the more I exercise, to a degree. I mean, there's no question that I get mental and cognitive clarity from exercise. And I think the important thing is, again, to find an exercise that's sustainable and enjoyable. And so for me, I have been fortunate enough to be able to get out on my bike for up to 3 hours this summer. But the average time is more like an hour. And that I come back feeling good and not in general feeling so fatigued that I'm like, oh, I need to take 3 days off kind of issue. But for me, it's easier to exercise, I think, than a lot of people because it's been a lifelong habit. And so I enjoy being able to keep myself in shape enough to get out and go for these bike rides. And but not everybody I can appreciate has that background. And so it's a matter of defining what you can do initially and then hopefully expanding on your capability. And that's why exercise is such a broad term, because it may be that, you know, you have no interest in getting on a bicycle, but if can you walk? You know, if you can walk, then that's a good starting point. And or if there's other areas that you need to try to regain or at least retain some capability, then I think that things like dance or yoga or boxing will bring into your portfolio of possible exercise a lot of more options. And even if it's household chores, I feel like there's something to be gained from doing the dishes because that improves your dexterity. And, it's a victory when nothing is broken and you get the dishes put away. I mean,
Right.
but seriously, I can look at almost everything, whether it's going upstairs or whatnot, as a form of therapy for my Parkinson's.
Yeah, I think the one of the important points to this is for those people who have not exercised in their life. It wasn't a big part of their life, and now all of a sudden everyone's telling them you have to do it every day. Is to see how you can make it habitual, that it's just something that you do every day, and you might not like it in the beginning, but the way to really find out if it did improve cognitive or emotional function in your life is to do it for a long time and then take a day off and you really feel it. I think a lot of times that's when it starts to sink in for people, is that they're doing it and maybe they're making themselves do it every day and they're forcing themselves out the door and they're not loving it. But then they hit a tipping point where if they take a day off, they're like, ooh, I don't like that, right? They just got so much benefit that they might not have even realized. So little bits can make a huge difference. We have an ambassador, Edie Anderson, and people will say to her, gardening is an exercise. And she's like, I'm sweating completely. I am definitely doing something. So any part of your life that you can find something that'll kind of get your heart rate up and get you moving is going to be better than nothing.
Well, and especially when you think about Parkinson's and living with PD and losing those fine motor skill coordinations, that I think those are the things that can be ultimately super frustrating. And so it's a matter of keeping and, as I said, retaining the ability to manually do things with your hands, or or not. But if not, then it's not. Then the disease will take what you give it in that sense, and I don't want to give it anything as much as I can possibly do. And Tom Polizzi, who's one of our terrific ambassadors, I believe, said on a recent young onset Parkinson webcast that he had a period where he took about a year off of exercising, and he felt this amazing or or unintended consequence to that of a big decline in his ability to function somewhat normally. And now he's back at it with a vengeance, teaching and leading Parkinson's spin classes for 3 days a week and whatnot. And when you see him, he looks terrific. And so, I mean, those are the stories that I really, really resonate with and I see daily. And but that brings up one other question, is how do you overcome apathy? And this is a disease, as I say, if you feel apathetic because of your Parkinson's, you have to fight that feeling as much as you can. And if you can find a form of movement that resonates with you, that makes you feel better and function better, and that you can stick with, then that's what's going to see you through this long game that we're playing and see you through it much happier and healthier.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Davis. This is great. I know this will be super inspiring to people who are watching. So get out there.
Thank you, Mel.
Thank you.